have to go in and you have to find the thing in which you're wanting to delete, but you can't actually like cut it, delete it out, because it'll shrink the entire file. You have to basically say silence this portion, and then you would have to layer on top of that audio like a sound of some sort, and it's like, yeah, let's just avoid that kind of stuff.
So what you're saying is you just can't say we're gonna edit that out in post because we don't have to worry about it. We can say whatever we want.
One-time cut, baby.
Oh yes, we're all professionals here. Just
Oh, you know me, James.
I don't
Straight
work with a whole
professional.
bunch of butchers and make lewd meat jokes all day long behind my back.
Behind my back.
I'm surprised there's no one say it to your face.
Why we're listening to Baby Got Back on the radio. Yeah.
oh goodness,
That was
gracious.
nice today.
Oh goodness gracious, the people I hang out with.
Anyway, welcome to episode 4 of Those Catholic Gamers, a podcast about Catholic guys coming together to talk about video games and their Catholic faith. And today I'm joined by my friends Joe, Scott, and James. Say hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey guys.
Classic. And today we are talking about the first games we've ever remember playing. And I think this is a good subject to talk about because a lot of times we have the games we play now and then we have the games that we started playing. And it's so hard to be like reminiscent and just nostalgic of those games.
No, so before we dive into this, we have Connor. We have 2 people joining us who have never been on this yet.
It's true. Yeah, let's do some introductions. Yeah. Let's start with you, Joe. Give a little introduction. Can you do your Catholic elevator speech as well?
Oh, sure. So I've never been in Focus, so I don't really have a elevator speech, but I'll make it quick. I'm a cradle-born Catholic. Really, my faith kind of took off, though, when I was in college. I lived at the Newman Center at college, so I was around the body of Christ every single day. So that was definitely a life-changing experience for me. Really kind of solidified my faith.
All right. And Scott, I'm expecting a top quality elevator speech on you for your
You're
faith.
talking about from like 2 years old till now.
Yeah, if you could do that in an elevator minute speech, that'd be great.
Oh, okay. So I was born in West Virginia, raised by backwoods Southern Baptists. For the most part, my dad was Catholic, my mom was Baptist. So, I grew up with that kind of background in the beginning. I ended up choosing the Catholic faith when my parents let us choose when we were younger, right around the confirmation age. And that was about the extent of it. Our parish did a horrible job in catechizing us. And I didn't actually start to learn about what the Catholic faith actually meant and was until I was 23, when I went to college, which is where I met James and you, Connor. And then I joined Focus, I'm not getting, that's just a spiel for another time, and realized that the Lord was bringing up a whole bunch of stuff that I needed to work on that was from my past childhood traumas and such. And spending like 5 years working on that. And here I am now, married, move across the country in Des Moines, and I have 2 kids. Actually, I have 3 kids.
Well, there you go. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Joe. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. But yeah, let's get right into nuts and bolts here. And what was the first game you guys remember playing? We'll start with you, Joe.
Me? Well, I think it was about the age of 3. I know, really, really, really young. I was at my grandma's house. They had an N64. I think it was. I remember Zelda 60 or Zelda Ocarina of Time. Playing that, not knowing what the heck I was doing, but I remember like the low polygon tree off in the distance. But I really remember Mario 64. That was kind of more my bread and butter of I could actually move around and do something in the castle versus, Zelda is kind of a little more advanced.
All right, Scott.
I technically have 3, Connor, if that's okay.
That's all right.
Actually, 4. I'll take that back. Tetris, Donkey Kong Adventure, Pokemon Blue,
I was gonna say what color.
followed by Red and Yellow.
Oh, you played all 3.
Oh, yeah.
Attaboy.
And then Zelda Ocarina of Time on N64.
Nice.
Now, Scott, I actually have kind of a similar background too.
Too bad I sold my Pokemon game, so I no longer have them, but that's okay. I'm an adult.
Did you at least
No.
get good money for them?
Yeah, they were very impressed with how well I kept them.
Good. I still have my Pokemon Yellow.
I didn't get red until I was 19 years old.
I never got red or blue. I was just stuck with yellow. Granted, I did. Someone gave me their copy of blue back in the day, so I have that.
Now, apparently, Claire got this for me. And it's actually super duper awesome. People make a ROM hack that can actually put onto a cartridge, so you can play a ROM hack on your Game Boy. And Claire got me Pokemon Green, which was only released in Japan, and like somebody translated and stuff. But it is so awesome because it has the original sprites before they changed it around for the anime. So it's got like the default sprites, and it is super cool to see what they look like before they made any modifications.
Joe's the resident Pokemon guy.
I do love my Pokemon or my Pocket Monsters. Sorry, my Pocket
My,
Monsters.
my pocket mans.
Pokemans.
And that
Pokemon.
right there is why my parents did not let me play Pokemon growing up. Do you know
They're
what
monsters.
that means in Japanese? They're demons.
Demons. Bust the demons out of you.
The yokai.
All right,
Pocket monsters.
James. What's
Oh.
your
Games I grew up playing.
what is like the first game you remember playing?
First game I remember playing, honestly, I think it was Doom 2.
Oh wow, you started off strong.
Like 4. It was I brought this up in a previous episode. My we went over to my grandparents' place and I asked to play a video game, and my grandpa was like, "Oh, your uncle left this here. Let's just pop this in and see what this is." And
See what it's all about.
And I couldn't get past the first door. So I technically played the game, but I never did anything because I couldn't even open the first door to get into the first level. Yeah, but what was it? Other video games that I remember playing growing up? Age of Empires 2. I don't know if you guys remember it, but what was it? The Hot Wheels game that was like on a track, and it was you were the size of a actual Hot Wheels car, and you would be driving on the orange track. You guys play this at all? Or is
No.
No, sorry. Sounds cool.
Yeah, it was
cool.
really cool. It was really cool. I can't remember the name of that. I remember playing that, and I don't know, Icewind Dale, Myst, Star Wars Battlegrounds. So, and then of course my
You
dad
played Battlegrounds?
Oh yeah,
James, we should play this right now.
I got just not
Forget
for
this
this
podcast. Just go play this.
I got it on Steam. Yeah, no, I definitely played a lot. I grew up playing video games, and then when it came, we never had any consoles growing up, so my console experience was going over to my friends John Cobb and Quentin Doyle back in Vancouver. Shout out! I haven't seen those guys in like 20 years, but I miss them so much.
Shout out childhood friends.
Shout out childhood friends who I haven't spoken to in 20 years. But yeah,
Shout out Johnny. If you're listening to this, next door neighbor buddy. We had some good times.
Playing what was it? Mario Party. There was a Mario Kart, the Sony version of the Mario Kart thing. It seemed like a lot of my free time was taken up with playing video games.
I got a question for you guys. I'll be highly amazed if any of you guys have ever played this game. It was the first PC game I ever played, which was called Lemming Paintball.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I've heard of it.
or just Lemmings. Lemmings.
Maybe it was that,
Yeah.
but you were wrong.
My paternal grandfather had it on his computer, and my cousin Michael and we would just play that, and we would force them dig down into the lava, and then they would all die.
Nice.
Because we didn't know how the game was supposed to
Classic
be played.
Lemmings. Classic. Yeah, I remember.
You guys are
like,
the
Number
first people I
Crunchers.
know that know that game. Other
We're
than
probably
me.
See, I
also
think
the
I've-
nerdiest people that you know, Scott.
I think I've seen like gameplay of it, but I've never actually played it.
It came out in like the mid '90s.
Mid 90s, yeah.
I had my Windows 98.
Ooh. Bing. Yeah, I remember my first game was I remember playing this in my daycare lady's basement. She had a Super Nintendo at the time. And I was like, I want to play this so bad. It was called King of Monsters. Have any of you guys heard of King of Monsters?
No.
Oh baby. That's right, Scott. I came up with a game nobody knew about. But it
Actually,
was like
I'm gonna Google this.
it's called King of Monsters. It was by SNK. Came out in 1991, and it was basically a monster beat 'em up. There were 4 characters. There was like a Godzilla. There was a dude that looked like he was from
Oh, I've
the
seen this game.
desert,
I've never played
and
it.
there was like a alien type guy, and there was another one I forget, like a kind of like a King Kong style. And basically, you would walk around this giant sprawling city and basically just beat each other up. And the like military would come in with tanks and try to stop you from fighting. And you could like literally pick up tanks and throw them at each other, and like pick up skyscrapers and use them like swords, and just like hit each other with it, and like go into the water and shoot things at each other. Oh, it was so much fun. And I remember growing up, the kid that was older, he had it and would just play it. I would just sit and watch him play it. And just like, it was one of those first games where I really, I mean, I played other games too. There was a golf game that I played on, Windows 95 or 98 that my neighbor had. I remember playing that, but it wasn't like the first game I was like, oh, this is what games are like. This is so cool. Definitely does not withstand the test of time graphics wise. It's an old game. But that's really the first game I really remember playing, and it was just like it really scratched my itch that I just want to keep doing it. And then I got it, went over to my neighbors growing. I was the same way, James. I didn't have any consoles growing up. Went over and he had what did he have? NFL Blitz. We would sit and play Blitz in his basement, and then we would go up against his older brother, me and him, who were like pretty young at the time, and his older brother, who was like 5 years older than us, and we would do like a 2-on-1 like football in his basement, and he would just destroy us, just like throw us against the wall, and just totally torment us. But yeah, those are like the first couple games I really remember playing, and then I don't know. I didn't grow up. I remember Humongous Entertainment games. What was the car game? It was a purple car. I remember playing that, and like Backyard Baseball 2001. That was a great game too.
Backyard Soccer.
I never played soccer, but it was Backyard Baseball, and then I got into the backyard of football when I got older.
Okay. Which, by the way, listener, we do have humongous games, both the point and click adventure and the sports games on the list. So that is an episode coming down the line.
It's on the list, baby. Yeah. So that was the first games I really remember playing. But yeah, this is the King of Monsters, man. Phew. I just remember sitting in the basement just playing that bad boy. Oh, that was so much fun. Are you guys still fond of your games that you played back in your youth? Do you still play them to this day, or is it kind of just used to play back then? You don't really play anymore.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, I play it all the time. Old Pokemon, it's like boot that thing up. It's almost like a challenge to see how fast I can beat the game.
Speed running, so much fun.
It's good stuff.
I no longer have Pokemon, but I still got my original Nintendo 64 at my parents' house. I haven't actually brought it out here to Iowa yet, but I still miss Zelda. It's so nice. Actually, a game that I enjoyed a lot. This was when I was in high school. I remember playing a lot, starting in the 9th grade, was Mech Warrior 4 Mercenaries and Mech Warrior 3. Ain't nothing like some big stompy robots doing some big stompy robot things.
Yeah. I grew up with a friend. He Joe, he not you, Joe, a different Joe.
Oh, okay.
I did not grow up with you.
You did not?
No. Let's see here. He played Mech Warrior, was it 3 or 4? And I had the Activision version of that, which was Heavy Gear. So I don't know if any of you guys played that Heavy Gear. No. So no, it's like Mech Warrior, but it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I actually have the 5th game right now, and I still play it. It's just a sandbox game, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, and like I always thought those mech games looked like so much fun. I remember we were staying up and watching G4, and like they'd have this one competition thing where they basically had a bunch of guys who they were gamers, but they would give them games that they've never played before. And one of them was like this old, like random game. It was a mech game that nobody had ever heard of before, and they would play it, and it was fun to watch them. And then they'd play like Unreal Tournament and stuff.
Yeah. Connor, when you were talking about the games that you grew up playing, that reminded me of a couple of other things. I was really big into the flight simulators, the combat flight simulator. For
interesting.
for World War II. So I grew up playing that, and to the point where my dad actually got a joystick,
That's cool.
like a proper joystick, which is actually how we got Heavy Gear 2, because it came as like a demo / just like game with it. So you were controlling a mech with a joystick. It was really, really cool. And then, of course, I grew up in a really, really nerdy household who loved Lord of the Rings. And so I grew up with the Hobbit, like 2003. I don't know if any of you guys remember this game.
Was that on the GameCube?
It was. They did have a GameCube version for it. I played it on PC, like
Okay.
everything else.
I've seen a
no.
speedrun of it.
Well, that Hobbit game came out also on the Game Boy Advanced. I had that one.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
classic.
So I remember playing that, and then my dad was really into the Lord of the Rings stuff, so he also got, what was it, a Fellowship of the Ring game that wasn't tied to the movies, so it was a little bit different. And I distinctly remember that there was a level where you were trying to escape Hobbiton from the Black Riders, and it was basically a sneak level, and so you had to like pick up rocks and throw the rocks. And I at the time did not handle stress well, so I would actually like get jittery from all the adrenaline, and I just couldn't play the game. And so my dad would have to play through that like it was like level 2 to get us through.
Oh, I got one for you guys. I'll see just how nerdy you really are.
I'm gonna out nerdy you guys.
Half-Life.
Oh yeah, I played Half-Life.
Oh my gosh.
I did not play Half-Life or Half-Life 2 until college.
Oh, yeah, I totally played
I
Half-Life.
played this game so much. This was before Steam started recording hours. I'd probably have at least 500 hours on that game.
Have you seen the new remake of it, the Dark Mesa?
Oh yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I
Actually,
have
it
it.
is, sorry,
It's
it
a
is
ton of
good.
fun.
I've played it.
Yeah, I have it too. It's fun.
All right, boys, you're gonna hate me. I did not grow up with Half-Life or Half-Life 2. I have Half-Life 2. I've tried playing it, and I just can't get through it. It's just like the beginning's really, really fun, and then I get stuck on that boating part, and I'm just like not stuck, but just really boring. I'm like, I don't want to go forth anymore. This boat sucks.
Joe,
Yeah,
Sorry.
you got to keep playing.
You get out.
Get out.
Joe, I'm
Get
telling you
good,
right now,
son.
you got to keep playing because that's like the biggest roadblock in the game. Once you get past that, it's all smooth sailing.
Yeah.
Okay,
Don't
I'll
get Ravenholm.
get back into
Don't
it.
go
I know
Ravenholm. Oh.
I've just
Oh,
heard some
Raven-
people talk
Yeah.
about it. I want to play it, but
Just
Yeah,
do
if
it.
If you can't get past the boat, you're never gonna get past Ravenholm. I'll tell you that much.
well, it's not that I can't do the boat. It's just I've got other games, and it's like I don't know. It feels like it's hours long. I don't know exactly how long it is.
You gotta play the classics.
Would it?
It's about 7-8 hours, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I
it's not
mean
that
the
long.
boating part. Is the boating part 7-8 hours?
No.
No, please.
I actually
It's a
liked
really
the
great
boating
game.
part. I thought it was a lot of fun, but
I enjoyed Half-Life 2 Episode 2. That was my favorite.
That was good.
There's
I
an
had that
episode
too.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
They never made an episode 3 though.
well,
Daddy,
Gabe can't count to 3.
Half-Life Alex.
Yeah, that's.
It's not 3.
I don't do VR. I'm sorry.
Neither do I.
I want to
really
play
wanna
it.
play that one.
I don't think I'd be able to play it on my Rift S.
Well, you have to have the Steam equivalent to VR, I think, to play that one.
No, you don't. It's designed for that, but you don't have to have it. What's okay? Gary, another question. What was the first console you remember playing, and what was the first console you actually owned? PC does count. If you can count that as a
What about
console.
Game Boy?
Yeah,
My Game
that does
Boy.
count.
Uh,
That
Alright.
does count.
It was Game Boy.
What was like the first couple games you remember having?
Tetris, Pokemon, and Donkey Kong. Mario Adventure was like a little puzzle game.
Oh.
And do you have that still? Do you have the last one?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I got rid of it. I sold it when I was a missionary because I needed some money because I had college debt. And you got to fundraise your whole salary. And, I sold it for like $200.
Oh, that's fairly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
on that,
So, paying rent in a slumlord like city, it's not fun.
in West Virginia or Brookings,
Yeah.
South Dakota? What's the difference?
It was far worse in Morgantown, West Virginia when I went back.
Oof.
Like, it made South Dakota look nice and pretty
Mm.
and cheap.
Now, Scott, I gotta say, I'm a little bit jealous. Not of the slumlord, but
The West Virginia part?
Dang, I wish I had a slumlord too.
gotta
Or
clarify.
she charged as much rent as he wanted.
But I had like a whole set of Pokemon cards and stuff in college. And I was like, well, I don't play Pokemon. Why do I even need this stuff? So I sold all of my Pokemon cards. Connor, you might know, but that Aberdeen card shop. It
Yep.
was like, yeah. So I sold all the cards there. Guy gave me $30 for my
I
entire
just say he probably
binder
gave you like $2.
because he's like, oh well, it's gonna take me a long time to go sort through all these cards. I had holo cards, first gen cards, all the good stuff.
Oh,
from
he
when I was a
made
kid.
bank.
He
Yeah,
made bank, and I had a holo Charizard.
Yeah.
It wasn't first gen, but
Granted, it's all dependent on the quality of those first gen, though. That's the first edition cards. The big money is the ones that are like touched or aren't played. So if they're like got any kind of fold, any kind of like touching or anything like that, they're not really worth that much.
I think is I didn't actually ever play Pokemon. I just collected the cards, so I had the binders full of them, like in the card sleeves. Not it's still a kid having it, so I'm sure it's not like mint condition, but they're still good condition. It's just like, were they worth $30? Heck no.
Yeah, I had Pokemon cards, but all mine were just trash commons that basically weren't worth anything. So I never got anything like good Pokemon card wise.
I mean, we're here to talk about consoles, though, Connor. So, what was the first console you remember playing?
First console I remember playing was the SNES back at my daycare lady. She had King of Monsters, and I forget what other game she had. She had the what was the Super Mario one with all the other ones? All Stars. She had All Stars.
Oh, that's fun.
So I remember playing that as well. That was a good time. And then the first console I owned was a Pokemon Yellow Edition Game Boy with the Pikachu and the other Pokemon. I forget the other Pokemon on the actual screen itself. I
Is
played
that
that. Is it? No, it's not Squirtle.
Jigglypuff.
No.
Well, let's look it up. We have the internet at our fingertips.
Don't worry, I'm actually doing this by plugging it into my Ethernet output.
It was it was Jigglypuff and Togepi.
Togepi.
Oh, yeah, it was. Look at that.
But yeah, I had a Pokemon Game Boy Color, and I had the Pokemon Yellow, and I played the crap out of that. And then I also had a random, was it Croc? It wasn't Pokemon. It was just like a Croc. It was like a random game. I never actually ever beat it. And then I had Pokemon Silver. Pokemon Silver was my favorite for sure.
All right, we're probably gonna get some attacks in the comments for this too. I have Silver. I have Gold. I've tried playing through both. I was the wrong age for it. I don't like Pokemon Silver and Gold.
I
Just
played
too much
Crystal.
crud.
What'd you say, Scott?
Crystal.
Oh, I never played Crystal.
It was
That sounds
the
fair.
combo of Silver and Gold.
It was the Gold division of.
What? It was like the Emerald edition of Ruby and Sapphire, you dork.
No, it's the yellow version of Red and Blue.
You said Gold.
Sorry, I meant yellow.
Actually, Pokemon Yellow's a little bit different, Connor. You get Pikachu, and you actually get all 3 starters.
Yeah,
Check
that's
your
the
facts.
best. Why
It
not
was
get
so
all 3
awesome.
starters? That was great. That was such a great idea.
Why don't they do more like that? I want all 3 in one.
Because money.
That
Then
is
they bring out
fucking money.
DLCs and charge you $20 for
Yeah.
a tenth of a game.
Ooh, that's a good fair point.
What about you guys? What's your first console you remember playing, and what is your first console you owned?
James, if you don't mind, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So the first console I remember playing was that N64 at my grandma's house. Had a blast on that. But the first console I owned was a Game Boy Pocket. You guys ever played a Game Boy Pocket?
I heard it. Yeah, yep. It's like
For
a
my
smaller version of the Game Boy.
yeah, for my tiny little hands, it worked out fine. You know, like as a kid, I'm like, oh, this is a good size, Game Boy. It fits my hands. I love it. Of course, as a kid, I'm not thinking that, but it felt right. I'm an adult. I still have the same one. Brought it out the other day. I'm like, it's so tiny. Why is this so tiny? I thought it was huge.
And it wasn't even a Game Boy. It wasn't even a Game Boy Color or anything like that. It was just like a smaller original Game Boy.
Yep, just a small original Game Boy. It does still turn on, but unfortunately, the sound does not work. Neither does the
Mhm.
screen. But the light
Oh.
comes on, and it like makes that like the screen
Bling!
flash. No, it doesn't make the sound, but it makes
Oh.
like when you flip a console on, you hear like that flip sound, like the power's on. I don't know, it's
Mhm.
weird, but yeah, that's the first console I actually had and owned. And Pokemon, I think Blue was the first one I had, and it was a blast.
It was so much fun.
And actually, I also had Pokemon, not Pokemon, sorry, Mario, not Mario Adventure. What's the one on the Game Boy? Eventually turned
Mario
into Wario
2,
Land.
Mario World 2.
Was it
It
Land or
was a
World?
Mario Land. It was Mario Land. Yeah, I had that too.
Mario Land was so fun. So was Mario Land 2.
So freaking hard. That's all I
That's
remember
so
about that
good.
game being. It was so hard. Because I remember we went to the Twin Cities for motocross to watch motocross, and I accidentally forgot my Game Boy at the hotel, and we had to call the hotel and try to get it back. I thought it was gone forever. I cried for like 2 days straight. Um, and when I got it back, the Mario Land cartridge was in the Game Boy. And I was like, "Oh, what is this?" So I inherited a Mario Land for free, and I remember playing it. I'm like, "Why is this game so freaking hard?" That's all I remember it being was hard.
I actually had like some really weird nostalgia for Mario Land 2 because like as a kid, I thought it was always like a fever dream. Because I remember Mario Land, but like there was this Mario toy in the game and all like there's a whole witch level and a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, I don't remember owning that game, but I remember playing it. Years and years later, find out I actually played it at my grandma's house. It was my cousin who owned it, and I played his version of it. So ordered that online, and it was a blast too.
Nice.
James, how about you? What's your first console?
Let's see here. So while we've been having this conversation, a memory has popped back into my mind. So my grandparents owned about 26, 28 acres up in the Cascade Mountains by Mossy Rock Lake. And there was a house that sat just next to the property. And for some reason, my dad and I had gone over to that property. And I think it was the son, the youngest or eldest son was there. And he had brought his SNES. I think I was 3, 4 years old at the time. And he was playing Zelda: A Link to the Past. So that is probably, and so he let me play on it. That was potentially the first console I've ever played on, and potentially one of the first games I ever played.
Nice.
Yeah, so that pretty much answers that. I didn't grow up with Pokemon. I actually had some contraband cards hidden away in my underwear drawer because
What were
my
they?
parent. I don't remember. There's something cheap that somebody gave me.
Turns out it was like a hollow first gen Charizard.
Yeah, probably.
Shadowless.
Wouldn't be surprised. I would actually, if I remember correctly, I think my parents found them and threw them away.
Turns out it was actually a magic card. It was the Black Lotus.
Yeah.
Definitely
Super
wasn't
Red
magic.
Lotus.
Definitely
Alphas.
was.
It was an
definitely.
alpha Black Lotus.
Honestly, I didn't even know Magic existed until college. Magic the game, the card game.
Magic the
I've
Gathering.
never played it.
You'd like it,
Me
Connor. It's
either.
fun. It's addictive, but fun.
It's
I've heard
also a
that.
huge money sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if video games is a really big money sink, don't or if you think video games are a huge money sink, don't get involved in Magic the Gathering or Warhammer.
Or Pokemon.
Well,
Pokemon.
I already have my hobbies right now. I have woodworking, I have video games, and I literally just got a 3D printer today in the mail.
Ooh, what are you gonna make?
I don't know. I got to get connected to the Wi-Fi first.
You don't like have any plans like stewing?
I'll probably make a benchy, and then I have some stuff I want to make for my woodworking. Some connectors, for my dust collection. I want to make something like that. I want to make you a master sword out of it. I saw some things online I thought you would like. Hello?
Ooh,
I
me?
raise chickens.
Joe. You, Joe.
No, and then sorry, what was it? If we want to answer the first console, what was it? I mean, yes, we had computers. I grew up with computers. That's already been well established. But my dad bought a Wii in like 2007. So that was the first console in the house. And then I bought my friend's PS4 when I moved up to Bismarck. And he mailed it up. So I still have
that was Alex's.
Yeah, it was the special edition Batman. It's got Batman on it. Yeah.
Arkham City?
Yeah. Arkham. No.
Asylum?
Arkham Knight.
Knight. Yeah. Arkham Knight.
I remember him getting that. He was so excited about it.
Hmm. Yeah, and he kind of fell out of the gaming world. So
They're coming out with the Batman VR game. Kind of whatever about it. Anyway, let's see here. Okay, let's get
Faith?
into a nice little fun question here. How did playing video games affect your guys' faith? Whoever wants to go first.
Nose goes.
James, you're first.
I've got a feeling that most of you guys are going to say that, what was it? Video games kind of took you away or something like that. I was always a very sensitive child growing up, and so I never wanted to like do evil or kill people or anything like that. So I mean, it never enticed me to seek out evil or wrong or anything like that. I mean, I would say it helped me start in my interest in history. So with like Age of Empires, getting to know some of the leaders, getting to know the background of some of the leaders
Leaders of what?
of civilizations or of armies or things of that nature. Joan of Arc, right? To kind of get to know the more historical, strategic army side of Joan of Arc, than the faith side bit. Stronghold Crusader,
Good one.
kind of going, so good.
Oh, it's so good.
Such a good game.
James, we gotta play so many of these games we didn't know each other had.
Yeah, well, I mean, we do own a lot of the same games. But yeah, no, it was never a way for me to like run away from the faith, and actually it was a really good way to connect with those who were outside of the faith. So I do remember my friend John Cobb was nominally Christian, really, and he would come over and we would play video games on our sleepovers, and it would allow for me an opportunity to just like hang out, talk with him, and then we would invite him to mass the next morning, or to get to know other boys my age. I grew up going to other friends' house who were Catholic, and it was a way to help grow in my Catholic faith with friends, and it was an outlet and way to just grow with others around me. And then I was very strict about not playing any rated M games. So Yeah, I would say it never really affected me in a negative, and it never really affected me in a positive, except for maybe trying to practice good moral decisions. How about Scott?
Throwing me on the pan. All right. So I would say I was kind of sensitive in a way. Like I didn't like blood and guts. Like I could never do gory games. I even still can't, even though I played Dead Space, which scared the hell out of me a long time ago.
It's a horrifying game.
It's absolutely terrifying and always scared me.
I tried playing that on stream one time, and I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna take a little tangent here. I did have a group of friends that would play Dead Space 2, and I would watch them. And so I got a screaming cat video on on YouTube, and I played it through our Ventrilo server that we had, and it literally made one of them pee their pants.
Classic.
So, a little Henri side of me there. But no, I played a lot of Battlefield as a kid. I didn't like anything with really blood in it. I think which is one reason I gravitated towards like Mech Warrior and other stuff like that. I liked action games, but also liked puzzle games. I was really big in the Warhammer when I was young, and they didn't really have video games for that at the time, even though I was poor and couldn't do stuff. Too much stuff at the tabletop. But
Yeah.
in terms of like a moral compass, like I wasn't necessarily looking at bad things, but wasn't necessarily looking at good things either, if that makes sense. Like I think I had a moral compass, but it wasn't like always at the forefront of my mind when I was playing a game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of indifferent on the
yeah.
didn't really
There's-
help, didn't really hinder kind of thing.
Yeah, it was more a personal preference. I just didn't like the games that, were ethically and morally horrible. So GTA being one of those. A lot of my friends played it, and I just couldn't do it.
How about you, Joe?
Oh, I don't really think I had many games that would push me towards the faith. Nintendo's not really a religious console. All the computer games I played didn't really call you to the faith. Which computer games would be like Baldur's Gate. Trying to other ones I played on the computer. Monkey Brains, if you guys know that one.
No.
I don't know if I've heard that one.
No.
Ooh, baffled you guys. All right.
Yeah.
But for the most part, no, nothing that really like changed my faith for the positive. For the negative though, I don't think I really had anything that like personally challenged me. Like I had definitely some challenges growing up where, more of them for me would be like watching the History Channel and having a bunch of them trying to debunk the faith. And as a child, that definitely hit me in the, kind of in a soft spot because I'm a kid. I don't really know what to fully believe yet because I'm kind of just believing fully on faith alone. Which, when you've got people spouting nonsense on the Science Channel, that kind of calls a lot of that into question. So, luckily, I had faith formation like tech and other stuff. But as far as video games go, I think the only thing that really called my question or faith into question as a kid, or at least challenged it, was Nintendo Power. They had all those ads for like, what's the pirate game? Shantae, I think it is. Like that have ads for her game, and I was like, ooh, pirates. I like pirates. And that kind of affected my young child mind, but I wouldn't say it really affected all that much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, growing up in video games, it was very much like I wanted to play video games more than I wanted to go to mass, or like more than I wanted to do other things, if that makes sense. So like, especially when I was little, like that was my thing. Like I had video games, and that's something I wanted to obsess about. And we would go to mass and stuff on Sundays, and it was more out of obligation than it was anything. For me, for my faith. So like I would just go to mass and then just think about my Game Boy while I was at mass. That's basically it would distract me a lot. So I don't know if like that was like the point of an addiction or what when I was a kid. So like that kind of affected my faith a lot because my faith came second over video games for a majority of my childhood. Because that was, I don't know, it's just more important, I guess. And then I've talked about this on the channel already, but I had Christian service hours in junior high, and I was obsessed with Halo at the time. Because I thought that was the greatest game ever. And Halo 2 had just come out, and with this Christian service hours, we had to do service, and we had to help out with the Living Stations of the Cross that the youth group put on. And I had thought about going to youth group before, but I thought it was for a bunch of religious nerds. And I was like, no, doesn't tickle my fancy. But we ended up playing Halo 2 one night at the Living Stations after practice, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. If I can go to a church group and play video games, count me in. So I started going to youth group, and that really was what jump started my faith a lot more. So I kind of have a weird relationship with video games, because I do count it for me wanting to go to youth group and encounter my faith more, but it's also like I knew that it was more important to me for at different parts of my life, not only in my youth, but like even like getting older and stuff. So it did affect my life in both good and bad ways, because I mean I wouldn't be Catholic today if it weren't for going to youth group, because that was really where I started learning more about my faith, and started making it my own. So I think that was kind of where I was going with the question. And not so much what games we're playing were causing you to fall away, but more so how did it affect you in general? Like, did you feel like you were more attached to video games than anything else, or were you just kind of...
Yes, it does. And actually, I want to piggyback off you, Connor. I most certainly fall into that category. There's a time in high school where I was playing a JRPG MMO, Ion, I think it was called, and that sucked me into the point where I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning so I can get like 2 raids in before I went to school. And on church mornings, I try to push 3 before mass. And so I know there's several times where I would have to drive myself to mass because I almost missed it because I, held this video game higher. And luckily, I had really good parents who pulled me away from that and said, Joe, we are grounding you from this. And of course,
knock it off.
yeah, basically. And so actually, after these, like, I think it was a month or 2 months, they banned me from the game. I come back to it, I'm like, this sucks. Why was I playing this in the first place? This is not fun. It just is soul draining. And so that's how I beat the addiction, is thank God for my parents.
Scott, James, anything else? No?
Well, I would say for me, like, my faith was kind of like at the third or fourth level of my priorities. Video games really took the forefront for me when we moved from West Virginia to North Carolina, and I no longer had like the mountains to run through because I was a very outdoorsy kid at the time. And then all of a sudden, we went from my grandparents' 170-acre farm to like 0.8 acres in North Carolina, and no streams, nothing like that nearby anymore. Completely different culture, and that's kind of where video games took hold as a more prioritized part of my life. And it wasn't until my 20s did that start to dial back, when I started discovering my faith for the first time when I moved to South Dakota. I didn't learn what a novena was until I was 24.
You're welcome, Scott.
James, I can't give you credit for that. That was Alyssa Clement.
No. Actually, you helped me a lot to get off of my high horse. And
It was nice because we were brutally honest with each other at times. You need friends like that.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, Connor.
What? Am I honest? Am I not honest, Scott?
Sorry. This guy.
Shh.
No
Call
comment.
out. All right.
Whatever.
Let's
It's
see.
not Catholic enough for the Catholic Club.
So, I would say video games did not. I was not affected by video games in that sense. I do know that I did play a lot of video games, and it was seen by others that I I played a lot of video games. Like I remember one Lent, I gave up playing video games, and one of the moms that I knew, Wendy, she was like, "Really? Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Good for you. How's it going?" And I mean, yeah, that was my way to interact with people, and it was what I enjoyed. And Connor, like you said, we kind of touched this already on the first episode. You know, I was in the Portland, Oregon area, in Vancouver, Washington, and you have to be what you are out there, or you'll be eaten alive one way or the other. And that's why the culture war out there is so hard. And so I was Catholic to the core, and then and then of course, semi-problematic, or what was semi-problematic about that was I almost became like a Catholic Pharisee. I didn't love Jesus and love Christ and love the church because it is true and good, what is whole in the world, but it's because it was the tribe that you clung to, right? Do you kind of get what I'm saying there? Yeah. Okay.
I actually have that just reminded me of a point. And I think another reason why I struggled so much with playing a lot of video games when I was younger in the South, particularly because it's like 11% Catholic, and you got the hellfire and brimstone Protestants. I heard about every Catholic joke you could think of as a kid, and being kind of a sensitive kid, I just internalized it all. I became very bitter and cynical against Protestants later on, that I realized, which kind of transitioned over to how I viewed my mom, because we had a huge argument one time. I think I've talked to you about this, James, a little bit in the past about how she viewed the Catholic faith and how it was like heretical in their eyes and stuff.
Yeah, I got aunts like that.
Yeah. I mean, we've made up since, but that was another. It was hard for me. Like I don't know why I clung to the faith like I did. It literally had to be just a miracle from God that I was able to transition into that. And maybe it was just like, you know what, I'm just going to be this, even if it's painful. Even to this day, I don't know. Maybe he'll reveal it to me one day. But yeah, that was another reason I kind of turned into it.
Well, I think we've kind of covered everything. not to. I don't know what else to talk about, I guess.
not to try to forcefully wrap this up.
Right. But yeah, just to wrap things up, I guess one thing to kind of loosen the mood a little bit. When was the first time everyone played Windows Pinball?
At school.
At school. Wait a minute. Hold on. If we're doing this, when was the first time you played Oregon Trail?
Okay. You guys are gonna hate
the
me
original?
Again.
Are we talking the original or remakes?
The original.
I've never played the original.
Oh my gosh.
Woo, I'm
Get
not
out.
odd man out.
I remember we'd go to the library in elementary school, and if you got your research done for your little book report in time, you got to play 10 minutes of Oregon Trail.
Oh, see, ours was Number Crunchers at our school.
We would all compete to see who lost the most oxen by the time you got to the end.
Scott, I was homeschooled, so we had Oregon Trail 3 and the Yukon Trail.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, classic. So good.
All right, so I just looked this up here real quick. I don't know why. The name finally popped into my head. It's been years and years. My second grade teacher had a game, download the computer up here, down to your work, you can play it, called Math Blaster.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just looked it up. I might have to see if I can find this on
2
the way
plus
back
5 is 7, and it blows up the asteroid that's coming at you.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
But anyway, thanks to your listener for tuning into the podcast. I hope you liked this episode. And if you have any questions for us, you can leave a review and follow the podcast. We're on all major streaming services right now because James is a Chadwick and wanted to hit them all up. So thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
If you have any questions, hit us up at catholicgamerspod@gmail.com. Once again, thanks for listening, and God bless. Have a great time.
Bye.
Bye.